You're listening to the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast, where I bring in successful bootstrap business owners to teach us what strategies are working and what strategies are not. Now, this isn't one of those podcasts where we bring on famous entrepreneurs simply to celebrate their success. Instead, I had them take us back to the very beginning and delve deeply into the exact strategies they used early on to gain traction for their businesses. Now, if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave me a review on iTunes and enter my podcast contest where I'm giving away free one-on-one business consults every single month. For more information, go to mywifequitherjob.com/contest. And if you are interested in starting your own online business, be sure to sign up for my free 6-day mini course where I show you how my wife and I managed to make over $100K in profit in our first year of business. Go to www.mywifequitherjob.com for more information. Now, before I begin, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to this episode's sponsor, BigCommerce. Now, BigCommerce is a fully hosted shopping cart platform that allows you to set up your own online store in minutes. And as most of you probably know, I teach a class on how to start a profitable online store, and BigCommerce is actually one of the shopping carts that I highly recommend in my class. Now, here's what I like about BigCommerce. Unlike other competing platforms, BigCommerce doesn't really nickel and dime you with every little shopping cart feature. And when you sign up, you immediately have a fully featured and extremely powerful shopping cart at your disposal. Now, there's also an incredible theme store where you can choose from a variety of attractive store designs, so you don't really need a designer. And they also offer integration with Alibaba, which is new, so you can easily find products to sell online. Now, if you're interested in starting your own online store, using BigCommerce is about as easy as it gets. Everything from design to payment processing is all built in, and you just have to populate it with your own products. You can literally start your online store in a matter of hours. Simply go to www.bigcommerce.com/mywifequitherjob, sign up, and you'll instantly receive 1 month free. Once again, the URL is www.bigcommerce.com/mywifequitherjob. Now on to the show.
Welcome to the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast, where we'll teach you how to create a business that suits your lifestyle so you can spend more time with your family and focus on doing the things that you love. Here's your host, Steve Chu.
Welcome to the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little different than some of the other episodes we've had. Now, instead of talking about 6, 7, or 8-figure online businesses, my guest and I are going to talk about just making money, period, online. Now, here's the thing. Most people seem to have this misconception that you have to have the perfect idea before getting started, and most people think that your idea must be scalable in order to be successful. Most people are also afraid that their ideas are stupid or they can't think of anything worth doing. So today, I've invited my buddy Lars Hundley back on the show to discuss exactly that. Now, turns out that between the two of us, Lars and I have done some pretty silly things online, and some of our business ideas have just been downright ridiculous. Now, actually, Lars beats me in this department, but if you don't remember Lars, he was actually a guest on episode 29, where he talked about his clean air gardening shop. But the guy actually has had many businesses in the past that he started in the past decade. And kind of between the two of us, we've both kind of failed spectacularly. And yet we've also made decent money off of ideas that weren't exactly great. Now, the point here is that you really don't need a great idea at all to start. You just got to find something and just go with it. And so with that intro, welcome back to the show, Lars. How you doing today, man?
Thank you, Steve. You know, it makes me feel really good about myself that I'm on your show as the example of, a lot of people make a lot of money and are very successful, but here's a guy that, he does a bunch of weird stuff and makes a little bit of money at it. And so don't feel bad about sucking, because wait till you hear how this guy sucks.
So just for the record, listeners, Lars actually does really well. It just so happens that he's done a lot of funny stuff too. And he usually doesn't publish this stuff publicly. But, we've had some chats in the past, and he's done some pretty funny stuff. And I've got some stories to tell too. It's not like I'm going to leave Lars out there alone in this case. But I actually don't even know where to begin. So should we just start the ball rolling with some boneheaded business ideas?
Well, first, I got to do a very quick, in my own defense thing. Clean air gardening is my main business, and I've been doing that for more than 15 years. And we've been in the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies list 2 or 3 different times. So I do have a real business and and do that for a living. I work out of a warehouse, and so I've been making my living full time online since I started making money online in 1998, and I quit my day job in 2000, and so I've been doing it full time since 2000. So okay, so
Yeah, plus you
now that
got
I've
those other
defended
businesses
myself,
too, also that we didn't even talk about in the last lecture. So yeah, I think, everyone out there knows, Lars, that you're the man. So let's get to the funny stuff now.
okay, which one do you want to hear about?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you got? Let's we'll alternate. Why don't you start out with one, and then I'll chime in afterwards.
Well, the stupidest way I've ever made money on the internet is I used to make monkey noises, where people would pay me $10 to make a monkey phone call, where I would call people up and deliver a monkey phone call where I would make these super loud monkey noises over the phone and just freak people out. It was like a paid prank call, basically. And I ended up on like a whole list of Clear Channel radio DJs, all the morning show guys. They keep like a master internal list of people that make good interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so weird and bizarre that they had me on probably at least 20 different morning radio shows around the country where they would interview me, and then sometimes they would make me make monkey phone calls live on the air, and that's probably the most ridiculous way I've ever made money.
Wait, how did you get the word out on this monkey call business?
Well, it's funny. I started it way back in, I think it was either 2002 or 2003. So this is before social media even existed.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you wanted something to go viral, it had to go viral by email, and people would share email. And what happened was, at that time in the early 2000s, that was the time when sometimes funny eBay auctions would go viral, and where people would just list the weirdest, stupidest stuff just to get attention, and then sometimes it would get reported in the media. So my brother and I were, looking at some of those, and there was an eBay auction that was weird like that had something to do with monkeys, and we thought, I know what we could do. Let's make a website. And we threw the thing together and built it in about a day or two. And I think literally I don't remember if we posted it on some message board or emailed it to somebody that had like a blog, but that's how we launched it, and it literally went viral all by itself from that, and we didn't really promote it very much. And then every time you'd appear on the radio, everybody in the town, you'd start getting all these orders all from the same area code as whatever the radio station was located. Mm-hmm. So then you can always, I'd do a radio show, and then I'd have to make 50 phone calls.
Wait, so was this a nice website, or did you just kind of throw up a page?
It still exists. It's
it does.
It does not have the order button, because I'm not making. I've retired from the monkey noise business, but it's monkeyphonecall.com, and that it's the original website. It looks totally 2003 when you look at it. It's not mobile friendly or responsive, and it has funny graphics, but it's still there.
Give me a sec here. I'm just going to bring it up here. So it's monkey
phonecall.com.
Phonecall.com. Oh yeah, this site is really, really early 2000s ish. And so people would actually go on this website and click on this order now button, and then pay you $10 per call.
Yes.
So
it totally happened. It was real.
And then you would just spend the day making these prank calls to people. That's pretty hilarious.
Well, I was always doing it on the side, so it was basically, it was like extra money in my pocket. It's like free money, and it only takes 3 minutes to make a call. So it was a pretty good deal.
Were you working your full-time job at the time, or?
Oh yeah, I mean I was well into clean air gardening. Clean air gardening was launched in '98 and was full-time since 2000. So it was just something we did as a joke, and I was just doing it on the side. When I'd see some orders go through, I would just sort of step aside and make a bunch of monkey noises, and then go back to work.
What's hilarious here is you even have a bunch of testimonials.
Those are all real too.
Wow. Okay. So I don't think that I can top that, but actually, I just wanted to make a disclaimer to the listeners. Remember, Lars, when we said that we've done some boneheaded things online? I actually just said that to make you feel better. I've actually never done anything stupid ever. Yeah. This interview is all about you. No. All right. So here's one of mine. Long time ago, and a lot of the people who've read my blog for a long time used to know that I used to buy stuff on Craigslist and I used to sell it on eBay. And I got kind of sophisticated about it. I had a script that would send me new deals that popped up. And then, so one day, a deal popped up on my Craigslist radar. And it sounded too good to be true. And it was something like hard drives for like $10 that could easily have been sold on eBay for $80. So I email this dude, I map out the address, and I head on over. And as I'm driving, I realized that the houses that I was passing by were getting more and more run down. And before I knew it, I was in the ghetto. So here I was, like this nerdy Chinese guy. I think I was wearing my Stanford sweatshirt at the time. I was wearing my big like Coke bottle glasses, driving an Audi, and then I was deep in the ghetto, like Ghetto, ghetto. So I knock on the dude's house, and this sketchy guy and his buddies walk me over to his van. He shows me the merchandise, all of which looks stolen. Like he'd ripped out. So these hard drives, they still had the cables connected to them, and then the cables were like cut. So picture a whole pile of hard drives with cables, all from a bunch of computers. Now, Lars, I think I'm going to show my age here, but do you remember that episode? Do you remember the show way back in the 80s called In Living Color?
Yeah.
It was like that skit, the Homeboy Shopping Network. We got car stereos, car radios, and if you act now, we can even get the car. So anyways, these guys I was dealing with, they were pretty intimidating to this nerdy Chinese dude, right? So I ended up buying these drives just because I was so intimidated, and I didn't haggle. I always haggle, but I was just so terrified that I didn't haggle, and I just got the hell out of there. And it's just one of those like really stupid things where I could have gotten killed or mugged or whatever, but I actually made, pretty much $1,400 that month, so I was pretty happy about myself. Wait, so there's my silly story.
So you sold the hard drives?
I did. I just turned them over on eBay, and I would just do this with electronics, and I was just doing this on the side. And, I would just make a couple calls to Craigslist people. I always was the first one to jump because I had this script, and to just head on over, buy the stuff. I knew what everything was worth in my mind, and I just turned it over on eBay. All right, man, your turn.
Well, it's funny. You talk about arbitrage. I'm a member of a group here in Dallas. It's a bunch of people that sell FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, that are selling on Amazon. And they're doing almost the exact same thing you were doing from Craigslist a long time ago, where they're buying like weird groceries that are hard to find and toys, and they're buying stuff at retail, like either at clearance or whatever, and then they're selling it on Amazon FBA and making a profit on it. And a bunch of these guys, most of them still have day jobs, but a few of them are doing it full time, and they don't even have their own exclusive product or anything like that. And it's kind of almost the same thing. It's pretty cool that there's so many different ways to make money.
Yeah, so we've actually had a guest. Her name is Jessica LaRue, and she does exactly that. And she actually makes six figures doing that. And so what she does is she goes over to the clearance houses. She has, the Amazon app where you can just pretty much scan what everything's worth. So she'll, once a week, she'll go through one of these clearance stores, find out whether she can make some money, and then she'll just buy out the entire lot of that store, and she'll list it online. She's done really well doing that.
Well, You want to talk about Amazon? Amazon is one of the things that I'm actually excited about recently, making money on Amazon. And I got to tell you, I was making a list before the call started to think of all the different ways that I make money related to Amazon, and I came up with 7 different ways that I make money just on Amazon.
Are you going to share those 7 things, Lars?
Oh no, they're all secret.
I know you've done a bunch of stuff with Amazon, actually. It's really quite impressive. I mean, if you want to talk about some of those things.
Well, one of the, here's the list. Since I'm in the gardening business, some of the products that I sell, we're actually either a manufacturer, a private label manufacturer, or an importer, where we have, exclusive rights to some of these gardening products. And so some of these products I sell to Amazon, as like where you're an Amazon vendor and you sell it to them at wholesale, and then they sell it on Amazon, and that's where it's for sale from Amazon, and people buy it that way. So that's one way. That was the original way that I started making money with Amazon, and then I figured out the how to become a merchant and sell on Amazon, and we used Amazon to liquidate all these dead products that were sitting in our warehouse that had been, like things that weren't selling. And, usually with stuff that you have to liquidate, you either have to throw it in the dumpster and take a total loss, or maybe there's some like liquidation company and they'll give you 5 cents on the dollar. I mean, it's just something ridiculously low to carry it away. But I started listing all this stuff on Amazon, and I was like making small profits and at least breaking even on all of it. So I emptied out my warehouse of all this useless stuff that wasn't selling for me. And it was totally awesome. So that was one way that I made money on there. And then I started realizing, well, wait, I bet you there's other stuff that I could sell on Amazon. And so I was selling as a merchant on Amazon that way, and making, and I'm still a merchant today, selling, various products. Although it's a little bit hard when you're selling stuff, as a retailer on Amazon, because there's always somebody else coming along, that you're competing for the buy button with a lot of these products. So that's a pretty competitive space to be. Then I also sell FBA on Amazon, where I have products that I box up and you ship it into Amazon's warehouse, and then it's fulfilled by Amazon. And man, I'll tell you, the difference between selling as a merchant on Amazon and selling fulfilled by Amazon, your volume goes way up, because people, like all those people that have Amazon Prime accounts, really prefer to buy stuff that comes directly from the Amazon warehouse, because they know they're going to get it in 2 days. And so that one, if you've got a good product that's exclusive and you can sell it Amazon FBA, it's a great way to make some money on Amazon. I also, I've got an affiliate account with Amazon, and I've got some informational websites out there, and occasionally I'll do affiliate links to products that are related. Mostly these are informational gardening sites, and I'll have like a link to something for sale on Amazon that I don't sell, but that's related to some kind of, related to tomato gardening or something like that. And I probably make $40-50 a month in affiliate sales on Amazon. So, it's not real money, but it's good money. I mean, I'd rather have $50 than not have $50, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing about the Amazon affiliate program. What's nice is, you get someone on Amazon and you actually get commission on everything they buy. So what's hilarious about this, I got a funny story here. I, below a lot of the show notes in some of these podcasts, I list, Amazon affiliate links for books that people recommend. Like some of the guests, I have them usually recommend a book or two. And there's this one order where someone clicked on that book and bought like $1,000 worth of like Spanx. It's it was just completely random, because you can see what the people buy. And so I ended up making a decent amount just off that one order, when the original intention was just to buy a book. So you can easily make a couple extra bucks doing that pretty easily if you have a blog or some sort of website.
I've also gotten some weird products that have come through where somebody's clicked through the link and ended up buying other stuff on Amazon too. And you're just like, what is that?
Yeah. It's completely random stuff. It's actually pretty interesting.
Well, another way I make money on Amazon is I'm actually a Kindle author, and I wrote a book about composting. And, I worked on it. It's not a very long book. It's maybe 50 or 60 pages or something, but it's basically a beginner's guide to composting that sort of gets you started on it. And I had a cover designed, and I paid somebody on Elance to edit the book for me, and then put it up there. And it's got like 60 reviews. It does fairly well. I make probably up to a couple $100 a month on it, and it's just up there. And I don't promote it really anymore. And it just, it does fairly well, because now that it has enough reviews, it sort of keeps going, because people see that it has good reviews, and they keep buying it. So that's been a cool way. I made money as an Amazon shareholder for a while. Like I bought it when the stock was on a tear again. It was 2 or 3 years ago or whatever. And it was going up, and then I stopped out when it started to go back down, because I sort of do trailing stops if I ever buy individual stocks because I'm afraid of losing money. And so Amazon went way up, and then as it started to go back down, it hit the stop number, so I sold. So I ended up, I think I almost doubled my money in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years with Amazon. So it wasn't a giant amount, but it's still kind of cool.
Lars, one thing I really like about you is that you try everything. Unlike me, we're kind of different in this respect, but I tend to do one thing, and then it takes me a lot of time for me to start something new. Yet you seem to be able to just start new things and try new things without, it's just in your personality. And that's what I really like about you. And in fact, you always try to get me to try new things, and which I really appreciate, by the way. And without you constantly emailing me about new things that you're trying that are working, I may not have even have considered doing some of these things. So let's talk about some of your recent stuff that's been pretty cool in my mind. So you recently wrote a post on my blog about a Kickstarter that you did where you created this really cool bicycle locking belt. Now, can you talk about some of the ways that you've just been using Kickstarter recently and how you experimented with it?
Yeah, that's actually another thing that I'm very excited about. I'm excited about Amazon, and I'm also excited about Kickstarter. Now, I've done 2 successful Kickstarter projects now, and they're both on the minor success scale. I think they both were just under $10,000 each. So I'm not one of the people that made $1 million on Kickstarter or anything like that. But the first one was a yo-yo. Because I have one of my e-commerce sites sells yo-yos. That's one of the ones that's also been around since 1998 or 1999. That's one of my original e-commerce sites, and I'm actually a yo-yo expert, and I'm really good at yo-yos, which is weird but true. It goes along with monkey noises, I guess, is things that it's embarrassing to tell people that you're good at. But the latest Kickstarter is sort of a little bit outside of my area of expertise. I'm really into cycling. I'm like to do a lot of mountain biking, cyclocross, bike racing, and road bike racing. And so I've always sort of wanted to have some kind of a bike-related product to sell because I'm personally really interested in it. And I even went to the Eurobike trade show a couple of years ago to look for a product maybe to import and sell, and I really wasn't able to find anything that seemed to make sense because a lot of the products, you need so much money to import. Like if you want to bring in a bike brand, you got to have millions of dollars because you have to carry every size, every color, every model. And so they're not looking for small time people like me. So anyway, I started thinking of ideas, and I came up with this idea for a bike lock with a buddy of mine who actually is in the bike business, and so designed this lock. And I worked with a guy that he flies back and forth to China all the time, and he can find somebody to manufacture anything if you have some idea. And you don't have to have like a CAD drawing and all that. I mean, literally, you could scribble out your idea on a napkin, and you can cobble it together with purchased products that you've bought someplace else, and then where there's sort of a weird working prototype that's not really, not a good prototype, but something where you could show it to some guy. And that's what I did with this lock. And then we went over there, and they made several samples. And it was cool. And so I decided I was going to launch it on Kickstarter because I don't really have a channel to sell bike stuff. Because
your blog is gardening related, right? Has nothing to do with right. Okay.
Right. My blog is gardening related, and my website is gardening related, and so I didn't really have any kind of a sales channel for it. So I thought, well, yeah, let's see if I can fund the first manufacturing run using Kickstarter. And so I was afraid that the Kickstarter was going to fail. And so I set the number really low because, with Kickstarter, if you don't hit your funding goal, you don't get any of the money. And I thought, well, I want to manufacture this product anyway because I believe in it. But I would really like to see how much of it I can pre-sell with Kickstarter as I'm getting started. And hopefully Kickstarter will pay for the whole manufacturing run so I don't have to come up with any money out of my own pocket. And it turned out that I did not make enough money to pay for the whole manufacturing run, but it paid a good portion of the manufacturing run. And so, I was definitely ahead of the game of where I would have been if I would have just designed it and had no way to sell it or anything. So it worked out great.
So regarding the design of this belt, there are other products that were kind of similar, right? In that you could wear a chain around your waist, and you made a lot of improvements to kind of an existing design. Is that how it worked, or?
Yeah, there's another bike lock out there. It's super expensive, and it's a sort of a more complex design, and I sort of simplified the concept so that I could make it less expensive, and I think mine's a little better, honestly. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Mine has a cool reflective strip on the back, so it lights up if a car headlight shines on it. It has a built-in zippered pocket where you can keep the keys to your lock and things like that. And but yeah, there was already sort of a similar product in that category, and the way I feel is, every idea doesn't have to be the most original, perfect idea that no one else has ever thought of in the history of the world, because well, how do you know if your idea is good? Like, I don't know. I like to find cool things that I can sort of iterate and improve that are that are things that I'm interested in, rather than maybe I'm just not creative enough to come up with a completely original product.
By the way, everyone listening, Lars is like one of the most self-deprecating guys I know. He's really awesome, yet he always like bashes on himself. Just a couple of words about his bike lock. I actually purchased one, and I funded one of these bike locks because my wife and I and our kids, we like to go biking, and we bought one of these coil type of locks with a padlock on it. And then every time my wife would try to lock the bike, she'd have to unwind this thing around her seat, and then the bike lock actually started banging against the bike itself. And so I thought it was pretty ingenious, so we picked one up right away. Have yet to receive it yet, however, Lars. But
well, no. See, actually, the Kickstarter started out so good that I actually started the manufacturing run while the Kickstarter was still going. Once I saw that I was going to get funded, but they're made in Asia, so they have to ship by sea because locks are heavy, especially a whole bunch of them. So it takes a while. They're going to ship mid-February, and then I'll probably also be selling it on Amazon once they get there.
Awesome.
So I'm working on setting up those product listings on Amazon right now.
So let's talk about ideas that aren't necessarily like $1 million ideas, but they just kind of work. Like you mentioned your monkey call business. You probably made a couple $1,000s doing that, I would imagine. I don't know, at the height.
Yeah, like literally some days, if I'd be on a radio show, I would do up to 50 phone calls in a day, which that's $500.
Yeah.
So it did all right, and it was self-sustaining, because like it would always go to a new crowd of people that thought it was hilarious. And then it would get going. It was funny because you'd see like people would start ordering it all from the same domain name. It was like people ordering it for each other at work, and there's all kinds of weird patterns that you would see.
I mean, this is just kind of like that glitter envelope idea that just kind of went viral recently, right? Where people are sending glitter to other people as a prank. In a way, it's the same sort of idea, and it went viral.
Yeah, exactly. I was way ahead of that guy. Except for he was much smarter than me because he sold that site for $83,000, I believe is the number. It was called Ship Your Enemies Glitter, and actually, there's another side story about that. I read a story. It was on Entrepreneur Magazine's website or blog about another guy who they called him an opportunist entrepreneur, and basically he heard about the Ship Your Enemies Glitter idea, and he thought, oh, this is a good idea. And he made one called Sparkle Slap, which is basically, it's the same thing where he'll send an envelope full of glitter to somebody. And he's also made good money from it, just following the trend, because what happened was the Ship Your Enemies Glitter guy, all of a sudden he started getting inundated with orders because it went viral, and he couldn't even fill them all because it's a lot of work to mail envelopes.
Hmm.
And so this guy's like, well, that guy can't even fill his orders, so I'm going to get into this. And his thing, I think, is still running and profitable, and he's still he's getting his MBA someplace. And so anyway, I thought that was awesome because that's you don't have to. I mean, you could literally make a knockoff of a weird site that sells glitter and be successful with it. Like now, that's the weirdest way to make money.
I remember, yeah, I remember you sent me the link to that guy. He like threw up a site in like a weekend or something like that and just started selling. And it was a decent looking website too.
Yeah.
Which I just also want to mention to the listeners, throwing up one of these good looking websites actually isn't that difficult anymore. You can just, there's a bunch of fully hosted guys out there like the Shopify's, the BigCommerces, where you can literally throw up a fully functional store with just a couple clicks. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, they have some really good, simple templates. If you have an idea like that, you could probably put something together in under 10 hours if you had a crazy idea. And the price for hosting it is not that high on the low level one, which you can always raise up or go back down. And the other thing you can do is, if you can put up a WordPress site, and there's a bunch of different templates, for landing page kind of sites or all kinds of crazy templates. If it was a service where you could go even cheaper than putting it on BigCommerce or Shopify if you wanted to do it that way, and then just take payment with PayPal or something, and it's bam, you're up and running.
Actually, you got a similar story to this glitter guy, right? I mean, I remember you were talking to me, and I think you even wrote a post on my blog about there was some press about these guys that were making house numbers. The numbers that you kind of mount on your house to show off your house number. And you just went ahead and threw up a site and started drop shipping these things, and it still makes money today, right?
Yeah, well, that one was actually it was a column in the Wall Street Journal from way back in the early 2000s, because this site was also from like 2002, 2003. And what happened was it was this column called Catalog Critic, where every week they would secret shop and order stuff, and then from a bunch of different catalogs and online sites, and then they would critique it and talk about what was good and what was bad. And that week they had ordered a bunch of address signs, the kind that go on your house, and they noticed that quite a few of them all came from the same manufacturer and were shipped from the same address. And then I was like, ding, 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 ding. That my alarm bells were going off. Like, hey, this sounds like a drop ship product that might work. And so I put together a site, and man, there were so many products. I couldn't just add it to Clean Air Gardening because it didn't make sense. This was actually my very first niche site that was a separate site than Clean Air Gardening, my first niche e-commerce site. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to make a separate site out of it, because they did also sell a few things that made sense for Clean Air Gardening that I sold on the Clean Air Gardening site. But I had to write individual product descriptions for like hundreds of products because you had to write something, and they didn't give you any text back then. So it was actually quite a bit of work. I ended up hiring a college kid to help me write some of it because I got so like bored with putting it together because it was like so much work. But it was I mean, it was once again, you read something, you see an opportunity, and you act on it, and it works out. I mean, it's not been like but yeah, I mean, it still makes.
I mean, it's
money
good
today.
spending cash. I don't know how much it makes, but it sounds like it makes decent money for pretty much a maintenance-free site, right?
Yeah, like back in the day when it used to rank well on Google, when it was easier to rank for stuff, it was making probably mortgage payment level.
Oh yeah,
profits
okay.
per month. So
yeah,
it was
a couple grand a month. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, oh, you're thinking about California mortgages.
Oh yeah, my bad. Well, no, then it'd be like 10,000 or.
Yeah, I'm thinking more along the lines of Texas mortgages, which are in the 1,000 to 2,000 range for a nice house.
I mean, we had similar ideas too. So I remember my wife and I, we used to comb eBay for stuff that was selling. And one idea that we got was going into the personalized baby bib business. So basically we would just monogram, or we'd put funny sayings on bibs, and these actually sold pretty well. And what's awesome about baby bibs is that little kids, they vomit all over them, and they're pretty much ruined after the first use, and then they come back and they buy another one. And, we ended up finding a vendor who was willing to sell these things in super cheap in 1,000 unit quantities. So we bought a whole bunch. Eventually, we found out we had to actually get these tested before selling, which kind of ruined the whole operation. But for a while, we were doing well. But it did get to the point where once we found out they need to get tested and we were kind of selling these illegally, we ended up having a garage full of these things. I ended up wearing these baby bibs at dinner just because they were like napkins, right? And every kid wore a bib. That was our policy in our house until we went through like the thousands that we had. But anyways, yeah, just do your research on permits before selling anything. But there's ideas all over the place. You just got to find out what's selling. You can use a tool called TerraPeak to kind of comb the eBay listings and find out what products are moving well.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't used TerraPeak before.
Yeah. And you've got some other funky businesses that you've done in the past, which personally I didn't think would make a dime, but you've actually done pretty well with them also.
Like what are you thinking of?
I was thinking about that one where you sold like wadded up pieces of paper in a box. You want to talk a little about that one? I thought that was pretty interesting to me.
Well, it's first of all, it's not wadded up pieces of paper. It was actually art.
Oh, my bad.
It's origami boulder, and basically, that one's actually a reference to an old Matt Groening cartoon book from the '80s. That when I was in a bookstore, I was visiting Austin in high school in the '80s, and we were in this independent bookstore looking through like the humor section, and there's this Matt Groening or Groening, I don't remember how you pronounce his name. He's the Simpsons guy, and this was way before the Simpsons. But anyway, one of his cartoons, it was called Cheap Gifts or something like that, and one of them was like Jar of Gravel, and the other one was Origami Boulder, and then it was just like lint, dryer lint, and it was just stupid, stupid ideas for to give as a gift if you're the ultimate lazy person. And I thought that was hilarious, and it sort of stuck in my mind. And after Monkey Phone Call, I was like, what else could I do that's kind of funny that might go viral? And so I came up with that idea, and it actually did go viral too. And I can't say who. I don't want to violate anybody's privacy, but once a big name that everybody would recognize from Silicon Valley, and this was also in the probably 2005 or something like that, ordered like 100 of these origami boulders. And then I used to have a more expensive version that would have a haiku on the inside, and you couldn't read the haiku because if you opened it up, then you'd ruin the artwork. But I really did. I wrote an original haiku for every single one of them. In fact, it was just recently some guy emailed me that he waited 10 years and opened up his haiku and read it.
That's hilarious. What is this site called? You don't do this anymore, but...
No, it's still up. And once again, I have the order button down because I'm not up to wadding up paper and sending it in the mail anymore. It's origamiboulder.com.
Origami Boulder. Hilarious. I don't think I've ever actually went to the site. I remember you telling me the story. Oh no, the buy buttons are still there.
I don't think they work, though.
Oh, they don't work. Okay. Yeah. Hilarious. Oh, wow. These are expensive, too.
Yeah, and people would buy them up. And they would buy the most expensive version, too, where I have one with a bamboo stand that's like a display stand, and I was buying those over at the Container Store.
Yeah, no, you were charging $30. That's a lot.
People were buying them, too.
Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that, I don't know. I mean, these are just ideas that are just kind of off the wall and they work. And how did that one go viral, actually?
I put it up there. I linked to it from Monkey Phone Call for a while. So people that were visiting Monkey Phone Call clicked through to it, and then it just went viral all by itself. And somebody linked to it. And the funny part was that a bunch of people linked to it, and it was Origami Boulder in the domain name and the name of the site. And this was back when it was anchor text was everything with Google. And I was ranking in the top 3 for just origami, which was really annoying to all the real origami enthusiasts. It was just like a total insult. I would get insulting emails actually about, this is not origami. And I have a whole actually page of letters where people would get completely offended by this concept of origami boulders, and they'd send me these scathing emails, and then I would reply to them in like an annoying way. The whole section, it's called Letters from Dum-Dums, and I would just call everybody a dum-dum that wrote and complained about it. And the site is written sort of in bad English, where you're not sure if it's an Asian guy or not, because it was a character basically that I created when I came up with this one, because I thought, what would be funny, because just selling up wadded paper is not funny, and so I came up with a whole character to go with it.
Yeah, and what's funny about all this is it kind of all these things kind of tie into like a central theme that I always preach in my class, which is having some sort of interesting story behind your products and having some sort of value proposition. And oftentimes it's much easier to get press if you have a good story related to your product. But
good story. I thought you were going to go in the other direction and you were going to talk about the awesome value proposition.
Oh yeah, see, I couldn't think of anything there, so I decided to go with the story part. Well, hey, so Lars, so what are some pieces of advice that you can give to the listeners here, just in general, when it just comes to just making money? Like, we're not talking about creating $100 million businesses here. We're just talking about making some side money here. You might still be working your full-time job. What are some of the early steps to kind of dip your feet in the water and then hopefully gradually build up to something bigger?
Well, that is a good point that I want to make, because when I started my business, even when I started Clean Air Gardening, I kept my day job and I started it. And I was getting my MBA at night, and I had a day job, and I was starting the business. And you still have your day job even today. Mm-hmm. And I think that is not a bad idea to keep your day job. I think it's riskier if you're just going to quit everything for an idea that's completely unproven. And I really love the idea of starting a side business, and then when you see, hey, this is going to be a success, then you can quit your day job and move on to it. So that's one thing that I want to point out. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I would like to say is, there's a million ideas and there's nothing new under the sun. There's so many different ways to make money. And I'm definitely a shiny object guy where I have an idea and I chase this. I go, oh, here's a way to make money. Oh, I'm going to do a Kickstarter thing. Oh, I'm going to sell on Amazon. And I'm going from one thing to the next. And in the beginning, what you want to do is, and this is what I did. I had one website, and it was making money, and I made it work first, because you really want to find at least one thing and get it running where you're making a little bit of money before you do 10 things, because otherwise your temptation is right before you make the one thing work, then that's when you give up on it because, oh, there's this other idea and this is even better, and you don't finish your first idea, and then you end up with doing all the work, but you reap none of the benefits. Mm-hmm. And so I highly suggest you figure out, and it doesn't matter if your first idea is stupid or lame or whatever, just finish your first idea and start making a little bit of money from it first before you do 10 things.
Yeah, what's funny is I get a lot of emails from readers of the blog, and they email me and they say, oh, I tried the whole e-commerce thing and it didn't work. Or, and then I'll ask, how long did you try it for? It's like, oh, yeah, I had it up for 6 months, only got a couple sales. And so e-commerce just isn't my thing. And, oftentimes I tell people to take kind of a multi-year time frame, at least 1 year, preferably 2 to 3 or 3 to 5. Like I don't even start anything unless I plan on maintaining it for at least 3 years. I don't know. Is that your philosophy too, Lars? Or
I think particularly with any kind of website now, I think this is my conspiracy theory. It's not based on any fact or anything like that, but I think Google makes it hard to ever rank for anything unless your site's been existing for at least a year or so. I mean, of course, if your site goes viral or, there's all kinds of exceptions to that rule. But I think in general, if you're starting a new site, I think it's unlikely that you're going to rank well in the first year unless you just happen to get lucky. And so, yeah, I totally agree with that you got to be willing to stick with it for a while before you just give up on it because it didn't take off. I don't think it's hard. Most things don't take off. They start slow and then they sort of snowball. And so you got to not panic when it's not immediately making $100,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. And the things that do take off, they always make me suspicious. Like this whole Amazon thing that I've been doing seems a little too easy right now. And I imagine that'll probably change at some point. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Amazon?
Amazon is my greatest frenemy. I love them and hate them so much at the same time that it's a really complex relationship. As a competitor, because, Amazon sells a lot of gardening stuff also. I mean, they are a brutal competitor, and the buy button, there's massive competition for it. and there's always somebody. It seems like your awesome product is somebody else's like loss leader or somebody else's liquidation product, so here you are. Somebody will be looking on your website, and then they'll say, "Well, I looked on Amazon, and it was only $40," and it's like, well, that's how much I pay wholesale for it. So I can't match that price. I still have to ship it to you on top of that, and I had it shipped to my warehouse. And it's truly frustrating as an e-commerce guy to compete with Amazon. And really, I'm having the most success on Amazon with exclusive stuff. But even if you have exclusive stuff on Amazon, you're competing against everything else in that category. Let's say, I have like a compost bin actually that I manufacture that I sell on Amazon. Well, I'm competing against every other compost tumbler in that price range, and so just because you have a unique product doesn't even guarantee your success on Amazon. But they have so many people, and the reason why people go to Amazon is to buy things, and so all their traffic is so valuable. And I don't know, I am really excited about what's happening with Amazon now, but I'm afraid that things might change. eBay used to be super easy to make money on.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's not easy to make money on. And people still do make money on it. And so I'm afraid that it's going to be one of things like that. I in general, I am afraid of like hitching my wagon to somebody else's train, or that's probably a bad analogy, but like once you're hitched to them, well, Amazon's always going to do what's in Amazon's best interest. Yeah. And what if one day Amazon decides, you know what, this Amazon seller thing, it's not even making money for us. Let's just abandon it. Or let's charge 30% instead of 15%, so we can double our profits. And they could decide that overnight. It's their business, And it's probably not likely that they're going to do something that crazy, but I guarantee you, over time they'll start cranking up the profit knob to make more money off of it.
No, I mean, I totally agree. That's why I'm always preaching that you should have your own branded website. And I usually don't use the hitching the wagon analogy. I usually use the pregnancy analogy. Like, you want to have fun, but you don't want to get knocked up by Amazon and really depend on them. But same thing. Hey, but Lars, we've been chatting for a while now, and really appreciate you coming on the show. I'm going to link up all of your previous businesses at the end of this podcast so people can see. And where can people find you if they have any questions for you, if they want to pay you a little extra and get a monkey call? You still doing those? Even for the right price?
No, not at any price. I'm done with those. Cleanairgardening.com is the best place to find me, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll just link up some of your Kickstarters also. Do you have any Kickstarters on the way or in the process?
I do. I have some ideas, but they're at this point they're not. I can't talk about them yet because they're so vague in my brain that I don't think I could even describe them.
Okay, no problem. Well, hey, Lars, thanks for coming on the show again.
All right. Well, I'm sad that we didn't get to talk about some of my giant e-commerce failures because it makes it sound like I'm hitting all winners.
There's time. There's time. If you want to tell one, I mean, I had some failures too. I didn't even get a chance to because we were going down a different route. But share one of your failures, Lars, before we go.
Okay. Well, here's my biggest online failure was my grandfather used to own a Buick dealership when I was a kid. And my dad worked there a little bit when I was a kid before it, but he really worked for a Fortune 500 company after that. But he worked there for a few years with my grandfather. And so I've always been sort of interested in cars. And I thought, you know what I want to do? I want to get my used car dealer's license, and I want to sell cars online because I read about this company in Dallas that was selling cars on like eBay Motors, and they were just making a killing. And so I actually went through all of the paperwork to be a used car dealer, and you have to have a lot. You have to have there's all these things that you have to have, and it's so much paperwork because it's really highly regulated, the car market. And so I spent a ton of. I mean, fortunately, I already had a building, so I didn't have to lease a whole space or anything like that because I just made our parking lot the car lot. But even doing it cheap, it probably cost me thousands of dollars to get started. And I never sold a car for a profit. I sold everything at a loss. and then I gave up on it for a while, and then I shut down. And when I shut down, the state of Texas sent me a $3,000 tax penalty because there was a 6-month period that I hadn't shut down yet, and I had not sold anything. And so since I had 0 sales, there was some special form that you're supposed to fill out that you have to report that you have 0 sales. And since I didn't report 0 sales, they assume this and that, and there's no way to get around it. And so I had to pay $3,000 just to shut the whole thing down at the end.
And then the cars that you did buy, are you still driving them?
Yes, I'm still driving the last one. and that was from, I don't know how many years. It's a 2010 Subaru Outback. That was the last one that I bought at auction, and I'm still driving it today.
I mean, that's just like my baby bib story, right? I mean, at least your car is useful. I mean,
that is true, but I bet your shirts stay clean.
Well, we'll have to get on the show again maybe and talk about some of our failures. I got a whole bunch, and unfortunately we didn't have time to get to all of them today. But once again, thanks for coming on the show, Lars. We'll have to get in touch again.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Take care. Hope you enjoyed that episode, which was a little bit different than some of the other ones that I've published in the past. And I hope that you learned that making money online isn't really that difficult. You just need to take some initiative, take some action, and execute. My friend Lars has just about tried everything, and I hope that you can learn from his experiences. For more information about this episode, go to mywifequitterjob.com/episode 70. And if you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave me a review. Because when you write me a review, it not only makes me feel proud, but it helps keep this podcast up in the ranks so other people can use this information, find the show more easily, and get awesome business advice from my guests. It's also the best way to support the show. And please tell your friends, because the greatest compliment that you can give me is to provide a referral to someone else, either in person or to share it on the web. Now, as an added incentive, I'm also giving away free business consults to one lucky winner every single month. For more information, go to mywifequitterjob.com/contest. And if you're interested in starting your own online business, be sure to sign up for my free 6-day mini course, where I show you how my wife and I managed to make over $100K in profit in our first year of business. Go to www.mywifequitterjob.com for more information. And once again, I just wanted to thank BigCommerce for sponsoring this episode. BigCommerce is one of the best shopping carts that I personally recommend if you want to start your own online store without having to worry about anything technical. They've got an incredible theme store where you can choose from a wide variety of attractive store designs, so you don't need to hire a designer. And they also offer integration with Alibaba, so you can easily find products to sell online. So bottom line, everything from design to sourcing to payment processing is all built in, and you just have to populate it with your own products, and you can literally start your store in a matter of hours. Simply go to www.bigcommerce.com/mywifequitterjob, sign up, and you'll instantly receive 1 month free. Once again, the URL is www.bigcommerce.com/mywifequitherjob. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast, where we are giving the courage people need to start their own online business. For more information, visit Steve's blog at www.mywifequitterjob.com.